Hello, welcome to the Flux Dev Meeting for June 19th, 2024. We have just getting started. We have a couple of agenda items already. Go ahead and add more items to the agenda if you have anything you'd like to discuss today. Sunny, do you want to kick it off?
Yes, you can discuss. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yesterday we merged the caching in the OCA login package. It's simple, but then I started thinking about how do we deal with the scenario where the cache credential no longer works. The consumer or the caller of the login has to somehow identify that it's not non-temporary failure and evict the item in the cache and then call login again. I was thinking, how do we do this in a good way or in some consistent way? In terms of OCI, I think it would be contextual dependent. For OCI, there would be specific way of returning error. We use Go or Google Go Container Registry package, which has a set of errors that they return, and some of them are temporary. So when those temporary errors are returned, you know that the credential is still fine. But for any non-temporary error or there's authentication error, we can invalidate the cache and do a re-login. So I was thinking such login packages like OCI login, they can provide some helper for consumers to do this easily. Similarly for Git or any other kind of cache-based login where we will have a need to evict the cache when we know that the item doesn't work anymore. So I wanted to discuss how do we do this, because we'll need the same kind of code in multiple places wherever we do login. Any thoughts, opinions?
Go ahead.
Saying
How do you
something,
want to perform cache? I was saying, so it all comes to how he wants to do cache eviction, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Depending on what you're doing. For OCI, Git will be different.
Yes. Like what you said, they have like a repository and for the authentication somehow it doesn't work anymore. So I have to just evict. For this, I think what's the only thing you can do if you have the error and we know that the token is invalid somehow, we can just change the time to live. If you have an expiration cache, and we just change the time to live, and then we return the error, and at the next reconciliation, I guess, or we can just try another time. If we try another time and the time to live has changed, it means that we won't get anything from the cache, so we will do a new authentication. I think with expirable cache, if you play with the time to live, we can perform eviction somehow. But with the least recently used cache, we have no way. We need to delete the item from the cache. So it would mean
in case of LRU, we don't have such invalid thing, right? LRU, you'll not store credentials there. They'll have like tags. I think this is relevant for time-based items, cached items. For tags, I don't think we'll be in such a scenario. So did you say the first time it fails, we'll change the expiry to maybe now and then do a requeue, and in the next reconciliation it will fetch a new credential.
Yes,
Is that what you said?
that's what I
That
said.
is,
Yes.
that's equivalent to, like, if it fails, delete the item from the cache, right?
Well, I don't see why it would fail. I mean, if the program, the process is still running, there's no way to fail to delete. I mean, because we only have a slice with items, and then we do a binary search and we delete all the items that have expired. There's no call
No,
what to do. Yep.
the delete method in our cache just updates the expiry time to now, right? Just do that.
Yes. If you do expiry time is now, it means that now postpone 90 seconds, it has expired. If then I do a cache get or get by key, it look at the time, it looks at the time and it compare it now. So it will say it has expired, and it wouldn't return anything.
It will say it's not found because it's expired.
Yeah,
right.
exactly.
So should the caller have some logic to detect if it's a non-temporary failure? Like, without looking at what happens, should it just blindly evict the cache every time there is a failure?
I think as you said, we can have some logic in the manager, because the manager is perfect, because the caller is just providing a cache to the manager, and the manager is performing all the cache actions. So if you have, because you have custom error return from the cache, so we can have custom error not found. We already have this actually. If the manager, so the manager would have to know somehow that it has to do some eviction. But before the caller using the token, how does he know? How does it know? Yeah, that's the question. So it's either, yep, go on.
I was thinking maybe you can provide some helper, say, example, login with cache. So, and you'll provide the usual parameters like the URL and all the normal login parameters. And at the end, you will accept the functional argument. I think this is overcomplicated. And the functional argument will have the core logic of what you will do with the obtain, authenticate the credential.
Yeah, that's complicated. I think, and that's been leaking. That means leaking the implementation. Because what we wanted to do is for the manager to handle all of these, only require cache as an option and then move forward. So if the tokens, well, the object in the cache is somehow invalid, other than expiry, yes, I agree, you need a way to do eviction. But it would be nice to find a way for the manager to deal with this.
It's like you need to do a retry, and the retry has to be called from outside the manager. Manager doesn't have a way to do that.
Yeah. Okay.
But if the
yeah, we have to. Can we think about it a bit more? I mean, the helper function, well, for me, it's been leaking implementation details, and that the user has to know how to manage the cache. That the manager take ownership. So that's not ideal.
If we had OCI client, we have OCI client, but
Mhm.
we don't use it. Our OCI client is only used in CLI. Controllers just use the OCI authentication to get the credential, and they do their own thing using Go Container Registry. But
Yes.
if we had a consistent way of doing this, we could have added something similar in the OCI client.
Why? Well,
So client,
well,
no,
I don't think the client needed because the client uses Docker caching. Because the client used the Google Container Registry, which use the Docker config, so it should have caching for the client already. So I don't think it would use this, or tokens at least. When you do authentication with Go Container Registry, it stores the token in the credential file locally. So it will use it as long as it's still valid. So we don't need the cache for that.
not sure. I've not checked where it saves. Does it save into Go Docker home directory config?
It save it to, for Mac and Linux at least, it saves it into a credential store locally. For Windows, I don't know.
Is that? I'm not finding the code where it's configured. Is it coming from Crane? Go Container Registry has a Crane package. I think maybe that is doing this.
Well, there is the package, authentication package, that does this.
Okay.
But anyway, what I mean is that the question was, I mean, yes, you have to solve it somehow.
So
Because
I was trying to say, if we had a higher level object which contained the manager and all these operations that we perform against OCI registry, there we could have added such retry logic. But
yes,
we don't have such a thing.
yeah,
The one we have, it's for CLI. That's different.
I agree. So maybe in the coming implementation of package authentication, maybe you should add this as a requirement. What do you think?
Not sure. Or maybe the current OCI client can be updated to provide such things, and this client can be used by the controllers. I have not checked why we don't use this. Maybe because this client was written after controller implementations, but maybe we can use this client in the controllers as well. And when you use it in the controller, you can change that where credentials are stored. It won't be Docker configuration default.
Right. Well, we have to look if we can change the credential store, because at the moment, Crane and Google Container Registry use the Docker credential store. From what I know,
It changed.
if you can change it, yeah, I guess we can do that. Use the same client and provide our own store, I guess.
Okay, I can think more about how to provide this.
Yes, but that would be better than having the user doing the eviction itself.
Okay. Do you want to discuss about persistence in cache?
Yes, quite discussion.
So
yeah, go on. Sorry.
So there is a pull request. Where is it? I'll just paste it in the meeting notes.
Yeah. So Sunny, where's a couple of questions, because we have a cache package now, and the cache package at the moment is a memory store that have two different implementation. An expiration cache, where you can put time to live, and a least recently used cache that edit based on least recently used object. And we have a new pull request that does that add persistence to the SP expiration cache. And the first question Sunny had was because there's we expand one of the interfaces that is called expirable. We extended to have a persist method. And the first question of Sunny was, why do we do it like this and not in general so interface, so all implementation would have to implement persist? So my thoughts
No,
on
not
this.
exactly. Not exactly. Like
Yeah.
I did not want every cache to implement persistence. I was more of like, why expirable has this cache property and why others don't have it. But I did not want to expand the main store cache store interface to mandate persistence. I did not want to do that. And now I feel nobody should have this mandate in interface level. Caching can be, persistence can be dependent on their implementation level.
Yes.
And
so yeah, about that, I want to talk about this, and yeah, I think you're right. At the beginning, what I wanted to have an interface for this because I wanted to be able to check if the given cache as an interface could do persistent or not. But that's true that actually, at the moment, at least, we don't have any use case for that. So I guess you can go with the optional functions and make the persistent implementation dependent. Like you said, so Sunny's idea is to have an optional function that would have maybe a policy like persist on close or persist on every new item, things like this. And yeah, I guess we can do that. That's a pretty nice idea.
That'll help us avoid introducing more interfaces or expanding existing interfaces. So the way I am seeing how it will be used in controllers is the main.go file will initialize the cache and will pass it to the reconcilers. And the reconcilers will interact with the cache based on our cache store interface, which has get, set, and all the usual cache methods. And while initializing the cache, the main.go of controller will configure when should the cache persist. Should it persist on when the program stops, or every new item is written, or every few minutes, or whatever. So reconcilers don't need to know about persistence. It's happening at a different level. But later, if we find a need for like reconciler to call persistence, we can add a new interface or something.
Yeah, the only reconciler that has a need for this is the image reflector reconciler, image reflector controller, because in the documentation at least, and I think that there was a promise at some point, and Stefan told me about it actually, that we have this idea of what we put in Badger today, the repository tags today, because Badger provide this capability. I guess that's why we put this. But today it is possible to persist everything that is in a repository tag. And when we start a new instance of the controller, we can spin up this the snapshot that has been done by Badger. This is a capability that exists, and that's why we want to. That's the use case that we have for this at the moment. But that would be the only reconciler to do that.
Oh, regarding image reflectors, last week I started wondering, we had an idea of moving image reflector functionality to source controller in OCI repository itself. Do you remember that discussion? We had it some time ago. Anybody remembers that? We are talking about maybe we should remove image reflector controller and let OCI repository advertise these tags because it already collects all the tags. We should just advertise it in the status of OCI repository, and then image automation controller can, or maybe image policy can move to live with image automation controller, and then they can interact with OCI repository to perform what they do today. But then last week I did not notice that for the next release, all the image APIs are being promoted to GA.
Okay. I don't know.
Then,
I don't know if I don't know if enough the implementation, but what I thought is that we have this badger because we want to reduce the number of API calls. That's what I thought. Because if you don't use it and just advertise in the status, I guess that's what you want to do. It means every time you have to do a call.
When you do this, we thought of removing badger completely and storing in just some file, storing the data in just a file.
Hello? Lost you. Hello?
Okay.
Yeah, I lost, well, I didn't get the last sentence, I think.
When we discussed this, we discussed that when we move image reflector to source controller, we'll not use badger anymore, and we'll just write the data in some file.
Okay.
Whenever Stefan joins, we can discuss this again, because if image reflector goes into GA, it becomes part of, like, we cannot change anything, right?
If you well, I don't know actually. If it goes to GA, we don't change the behavior and the API, but the underlying implementation can change.
API will remain, right? API will remain as in an image API. It could have been moved to OCI repository API. I don't know, maybe we don't want to do that now. Maybe Flux V3 will have that. Don't.
Yeah, I guess. Let's talk about this with Stefan.
Regarding cache, the last thing, I guess, serialization of the data. Have you checked how we can do this same with Go objects? Sule?
I'm sorry, I missed the last sentence.
No. The serialization of the cache data in a file. Have you checked how we can do the same with Go? Did you see any blocker?
Yeah, I'm open to change, but because the way I do the persistence is I use big engine, binary big engine to write things in a file. And the way where I did this way because eventually I thought that maybe at some point we want to be able to address persistent item per item and be able to if you have some durability options, like I want to persist everything on the fly. If you can do it item by items, well, at least it will be already implemented. And I didn't use gob or int or anything like this because I wanted to be able to look up key by key. So that's why I put the key the key length, the key, the time to leave, and then the actual object. So I can look up by key, decide to update or delete in the path. That's why I did it like this. If GUB can do this, I guess we can change. If it's easier.
When I looked into it, it looked very similar to what you're doing, and it seemed like you can just replace that part with GOB because it's Go types and you
Okay,
can
I will have a look.
easily deal with that. You
Right.
don't have to involve JSON or anything.
Okay, I will have a look.
I also checked, is there any downside on using GOB? There were some concerns around when you change Go version, there is a chance that your serialized data may not be compatible. But then I read that there is a way to make it compatible. You can register your data types in, there is some gob.register something. And if you register your data type, it will be consistent across Go versions. So maybe it's fine. The only issues
I'll have a look.
I saw were,
Well,
it's
one thing I've
format.
read. Yeah.
Because it's binary format,
Because
people may have difficulty.
Okay. Well, the way I do this. Okay. What I wanted to say is that I've heard that GUB is not really that performant. So maybe it's, I don't know, because it's portable or anything like this. I'll have a look if it can do it as well. Because but GUB is part of the standard library, right? And portable is not. It's part of the Google things. Okay.
Or maybe you can do some performance comparison.
Yeah, I guess. Because I don't want to, because the cache, I think the way we do it at the moment, we don't have major dependencies. I mean, the biggest dependency we have is on Prometheus for the instrumentation, of course. And I would like, if possible, to keep it that way. So maybe GUB is better than having anything else for this.
Yeah, we can change it in the future. I don't think initially we'll have a huge amount of data. We'll have small data and would not matter. Serialized, deserialized may not matter.
Yeah, but you never know because the package is it's public, so people may have new demands. But yeah, I will have a look today and I'll let you know. But I don't think it will be an issue.
That's all the topics I had. Anything else? Adam or Matthias? Have any topics?
No, I don't have really anything to add.
Did you update anything in your website? I did not check.
I think I've made a few minor adjustments, but I've mostly just been, I haven't made any major ones yet.
Did you find out if static mapping of the event, Flux event with CD events would be fine?
I haven't quite yet. It's people. A lot of people are on holidays at the moment, so it's been kind of tough to find the time to discuss it with them. But it feels like it should be fine. There shouldn't be too much resistance on that. I don't think. I just need to actually get the time to grab them into some meetings and let them know.
Okay. Matthias, RFC or any pull requests?
Hello. Sorry, I didn't have time yet to go through all the comments on the RFC, but I did make some progress on the support for the proxy secret for the bucket API. I actually already marked the first pull request as ready for review, but I'm actually not sure if I should, because I thought about splitting the pull requests for each provider separately of the bucket provider. The first one is only for the generic provider, and the second one, which I just started today, which is still in draft, is for GCP. Do you guys have any opinions on whether I should merge the support for this field for all the providers in one pull request or not? I just wanted to make it that, like, to split them just so they are smaller and easier to review. What do you guys think?
I see two pull requests, 1500, 1520, and both have the same title. I'm confused. Are both for generic?
Sorry. Oh, yeah. Sorry. I didn't change the GCP part. Yeah, I'm changing now.
Okay. All right.
GCP.
Branch name is
For this,
GCP.
Matthias.
right?
Do you have
Sorry?
a link for the? Do you have a link for those pull requests?
Let me send it now here.
missed
Let me
them.
put it. I'm gonna put on the agenda.
Okay, thanks.
Bucket API support or spec the proxy secret ref bucket generic. And
I think separate pull requests are fine. Like it would be easier to get into individual details. Separate.
So you also prefer separate pull requests?
Mhm.
Yeah, I also think that separate pull requests are fine.
Cool.
Or you
Okay.
can base one on the other because you're adding the new
Yeah,
field
yeah.
and the spec in one. And
Yeah.
you
If
can
you
build
see the
second one on
second,
top.
yeah, the second one has the two commits, right? The commit from the first pull request and the second commit for the second. But when we merge the first
it's
one,
from the
I'm gonna rebase, and then there will be just one commit.
Mhm.
you can change
point
the
your-
branch.
Ah.
You can change the source branch so you can see only the commits that are different.
Oh,
That's just an idea.
what, sorry?
Because the pull request is from bucket GCP proxy to Flux main, and the second one is from.
Oh, I see what you mean. Okay, the
So you
target
can change
of the target branch. I
branch.
see.
You can change the target branch so you can see only the pull requests that
I
the
see.
commits that are divergent.
Well, in that case, I think I have to open the pull request in my fork, right?
No,
No?
you can just click on the edit button at the top of the pull request.
Yeah, I think you can just change it. Yeah.
Change the base from main to the other bucket generic proxy. At the top of the
Let me
pull
see.
request, right side, there is an edit button.
I see. I'm doing it here now, but I can't find the bucket dash. Well, can I start with? No. Can I share my screen real quick?
Oh, right. I see. It's pointing to the Flux upstream repository, not your.
Yeah. It only lists the branches of the Flux upstream. Yeah, it doesn't have the fork.
Okay.
Yeah,
right.
sorry about that.
Let it be. I think in GCP description just added that this depends on the other one, generic.
Yeah, I can do that, but I mean, I wasn't even thinking about marking it as ready for review before we got the first one merged. So the second one is just a draft as of yet.
You can. You're asking for review, right? Ready for review.
Oh man, yeah, I mean for the first one. First.
Okay, then. First one you can
Yeah.
go through.
Yeah.
But I had a reference that this exists, so we could compare the two and see if there's
Cool.
any similarity.
Sorry, what? How do I do that?
No, just add in the description that there is
Oh,
another pull request for
oh,
other
cool.
provider.
Let me do that here. Builds on 15.00. I just did that. Cool.
For GCP, did how did you test it?
Yeah, actually, so I'm just testing it right now here, and I just got an error, but I see that our tests have a mock server, so it's just a matter. I mean, now I'm on the way of fixing the test here. There's the mock server has an HTTP client, and I'm using like the default one from. Yeah, maybe that. Yeah, because like the test is well, if you see the GCP_test.go file, it creates a client bypassing the function, like the constructor that we have. It yeah, it creates directly with the Google library, passing this custom HTTP client that comes from the function that starts the mock server. And yeah, it's just, I mean, there's not anything very special there. It's just, it looks like it's because of the TLS part, I guess. But yeah, I mean, this way we can test the constructor, the actual constructor, right?
Should be okay.
Should be
If
okay.
that's how we have been testing it, I think it should be okay. Because testing it against real GCP would require a lot of other work that are outside of the source controller. So for now, it should be fine. But maybe in a few months, we'll start adding actual cloud integration tests in source controller as well.
Yeah. Okay.
It should be fine for now.
Cool. Yeah, so that's it for me. It's my only update today.
Can discuss about the other RFC.
Oh, the RFC.
I left a comment about changing the use case.
Oh yeah. I was thinking about maybe discussing about that as well. I saw that you suggested that the first use case we actually have the summary field on the alert API, right? And there's the other use case that can replace that you mentioned. I was just thinking that in the specific case of the first use case where I mentioned it, which is the cluster and everything. And even, I mean, I agree with you, and like I just think that an even better field than summary is the event metadata one, which allows for structured data, right? Like the summary is just a string. So actually, in the first place, that's why I opened the issue and the feature request and the pull request for this event metadata field, specifically because it would allow for structured metadata, whereas summary is just a string. But you're right, like those two fields would cover that use case indeed.
If you want to, you can add it as another user story, but as I say, it will be per object, so you have to add the annotation in every object if you want to use that for identifying data clusters.
Yeah, you're right. Like it's better to use
summary,
like
which comes from the alert.
Yeah, like something on the alert object instead of the source of the event, right? Yeah, that makes more sense. For the specific use case of identifying the cluster and properties of the cluster. That's better. Indeed.
So Stefan asked for adding this other example for image automation, where we
Right.
update like Helm release version plus the same in the metadata, so that metadata is emitted as an event. So a consumer can see the new version. And I think Stefan was looking for examples of how you do that using some example manifests. So
do you mean like
users,
in the RFC itself?
in the user story, you can write an example of a image Helm release with image automations markers. One marker in the chart version, another marker in the Helm release metadata, where you specify the version number, and Helm image automation updates the Helm chart version and the marker the same version number. This version number is emitted as an event.
So both an image under values and an image under the annotation, right?
Image and version, image and whatever is appropriate.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Like, so in this case, like we're talking about the annotation, right? But I was just thinking to be more. I mean, yeah, it's just a detail, like to be more complete. Like let's say you have like under your your values API of the Helm chart you're deploying, you have a value that specifies an image, and then yeah, we have
you can add that in the metadata as well.
Yeah,
that
we
can
add
also be an example.
Yeah. We add in the same Helm release object, we add both the annotation, like the image update automation
marker.
What's the name? Yeah, marker. Yeah, that's where, yeah. So you add one marker in the annotation and one in the values. So just maybe it's more complete, right?
So you just show that in the user story as an example of how people can use it, and that should be good.
Cool.
And if you
so
want
those
to,
would be the. Sorry, go ahead.
If you want to, you can add the use case that you initially added, but maybe change it such a way that it's not about identifying from which cluster it's coming from, maybe which region. I think region is better, because one cluster can be in multiple regions, and it may be difficult to identify region in image in Flux alerts.
Actually, like, to be honest, I was kind of I didn't have all the use cases in my head when I wrote the first version of this RFC. So I just put this one because it's the one that triggered me to have this feature in the past, and the use case that was that came to us recently from that guy that is also on the thread. So actually, I mean, I think this one from the image automation controllers is much better indeed. I think it's a good replacement. I don't think I have a strong opinion on leaving that use case there, to be honest.
That can be removed.
Yeah. So those would be the highlights from the comments there. Like, what are the most important things you would like to notice besides this use case, which sounds a pretty important improvement? Anything else?
Just the things I commented about. Nothing else. And you can change the RFC number. You have number the 0007. Usually we name it NNNN, because unless the RFC is accepted, we don't number them.
I see. So like, I would change in the pull request the number to this undefined NNNN, right? And then, like, after we approve.
File name also.
Sorry?
The file name as well.
Yeah. At this point, I think Stefan renamed the pull request to remove the number. So it's just the file left. So how does this work? Like in the end, after the RFC is approved, then we finally rename it to a number? Is that how this works?
Once you get approvals, we'll ask you to update the NNNN with actual number.
And then we merge it. Got it. Okay, cool.
And also change the status from provision to implemented.
Sorry?
The RFC third line has a
You have to change it
status
to
of the
implemented.
RFC.
Oh, right. Oh, yeah, there's this the last part of the implementation history, right?
No.
No. Just the status have to be changed to implemented. And once you have a merge and implementation, for example, one of your pull requests, you have to amend the RFC to put an implementation history.
Right. Oh, the status. So okay, sorry. So at the top, it's provisional here, and then we're gonna change it to implementable after it's accepted. Is that what you mean? Okay. Cool. Got it. Sounds good.
What else? Anything else?
I think that's it from my end.
Wait, I see. Wait. In the RFC, I see Kingdom on the right. Kingdom, did you test it?
Sorry?
In the custom event metadata RFC, I see you on the right side. Reviewers.
I think I was a requested reviewer. I don't have any feedback about this.
Yeah, sorry. I think I just requested a review from most people I saw here in the meeting when we discussed this RFC for the first time. Sorry.
I was just looking if I missed any comment. Okay. Kingdom, do you want to share about the cargo?
Oh yes, I forgot to mention this last meeting, but there are a few things I'd like to mention actually. Yeah. So Christian Hernandez came to Bug Scrub AEST last week and gave us a little presentation about cargo, which I will describe naively as sort of like a souped up image automation that can be used for different purposes with a dashboard and GUI. And it's very configurable. And if you're interested in that, I recommend you go check it out. It's on the YouTube channel in the Bug Scrub playlist of the Flux channel. And the other thing I wanted to mention, I guess I can pause for any questions if you have questions, but I don't anticipate there'll be many questions until you've seen the video. The other thing,
add a link?
Yes, I'll put a link in the notes. Sure. The other thing you did. Yeah. What do you think about it?
I saw the difference between like CB and so wait, continuous deployment and then continuous delivery. This was about delivery. Like what Flux does is deployment, and Cargo does is delivery. It delivers the artifact and perform some checks on the artifact. Cargo takes care of all those things. So before you deploy comes Cargo. Cargo handles all the pre-checks before you deploy any artifact. That's what I understood. And they have a UI in the UI. You can see which of the artifacts are ready to be deployed. That's what I understood. Is that correct?
My understanding was, well, I haven't tried it out since then, so I only really understood what I saw in the video. But that you can define delivery pipelines, basically.
Mhm.
So I don't really want to undersell it because I've had kind of a rough week and I'm not really in a great state to be pitching anything or even reviewing technical details right now. But do go check out the video and we could talk about it next week. I think Christian would like to talk about it too with more Flux maintainers, but he wants to give us a chance to all review the video or take cargo for a spin or whatever before he comes to a meeting with all of us.
Did you put the link to the video?
No, sorry, I'm a little bit distracted. Let me put it now in the.
Thank you.
And then the other thing that I wanted to mention, I think I brought this up last week or the week before, and we didn't really have discussion about it. But there is a cool tool that we might want to enable for our repos in Flux that I reviewed from our community manager, Stacy, who is now at StackLock. She recommended we take a look at this. It's a free tool for open source. It is also open source. If you have misgivings about repository permissions, we can talk about them. I think they're interested in feedback about whether we would or would not enable this for our repos. But basically, it looks for policy configuration opportunities. Things like this one doesn't have the main branch protected, or here's a place where an approved pull request that has already been approved now has new changes, configurable things that they have an engine to suggest, things that you might want to enable based on what you already have or don't have configured on your repositories. You point it at those repositories and it just goes and reviews them, and it sends you recommendations. So we may or may not be interested in this. I don't know, but I noticed since this is from Stacy and they have some pretty heavy hitters on their executive board, this might be a company that we want to talk to. Maybe there's some other type of relationship we could have, support or anything community related. But I'm not sure if this is a great. Again, I don't want to ask for feedback before you've seen the thing, but I'll put a link to StackLock in the notes. And the product is called Minder, one of the products that they have.
I'm looking at their page, Minder. Sounds like Reminder can remind you to enforce certain good practices.
Yeah, when I enabled it on some test repos, my first impression was, oh, it's sending me a lot of emails. But then when I looked at it, I realized that there weren't really that many emails relative to the number of repositories that I had enabled it for. And it really only sends you suggestions that you tell it you're interested in. So it was not more emails than I should have expected. I enabled it for 4 repos, and then I enabled 4 or 5 different suggestion types, and I got almost right away 20 emails. I think we would get less emails because we already have a lot of these policies in place. So it's only going to remind you about things that you need to enable.
It seems like AI assist can recommend good practices to any organization or projects. It's like GitHub Copilot, but for project.
Yeah, I'm not sure how much AI is in there. I think it's really simple rules engine. Like they have Rego, so everything is Rego based for rules. You can create your own rules, and the docs are pretty good. The one that I was most interested in that I wanted to see, how do I do automatic remediation? So it'll suggest actions and prompt you to take those actions. It just seemed like a pretty straightforward tool that we might be interested in. So, and I'll be open that they have in fact paid me to review this tool. So I don't want to give you the wrong impression, but I got some remuneration for taking a look at this and bringing it to you. So not really anything extravagant, but they value our time.
Maybe we can discuss with Stefan. I don't have any organization.
Yeah, that's what I said to Stacy, that if anyone is going to object, it would probably be Stefan, and it's because he's the one who has to push the buttons, and so we need him to protect us from pushing harmful buttons, obviously. But yeah, we can talk about it later or now or another time. I think that's really all I have today. So
Okay, that's all for the meeting.
yeah, I think that's the last thing on the agenda, at least. So thanks everyone for joining us. I'm going to stop the recording here.